is a video lesson for Lesson 7 of our Angles and Planar Figures unit. The Lesson 7 learning target is I can measure and draw angles, and also sketch given angle measures and verify with a protractor. So today's lesson is going to be all about drawing different measure angles, and we're going to be looking at a couple ways that we can do that. So we're going to be using needing a few tools to help us out today. Of course, since we're dealing with angle measure, one of the tools we'll need is our protractor. And of course, since we're drawing, we're also going to need a pencil or other writing utensil. So let's go ahead and jump right in, and I'm just going to start today with a demonstration. So yesterday we talked about how we measure angles using a protractor. So today is all about drawing the angles. So I'm going to look at the first example here. I'm going to be drawing two angles here. The first angle, I'm going to be constructing a 65-degree angle, and the second angle will be a 120-degree angle. So to start out with the 65-degree angle, in both of these examples, I actually have the first ray of the angle already drawn. So starting with the 65-degree angle, I'm going to take the end of this ray right here, so the end point of this ray, and I'm going to put the circle or the little hole of my protractor right on the end here. So this is going to be helpful for constructing my vertex. So if you look really closely, let me slide my paper over, look really closely, we have the end of the line that's right in the middle of that hole, and then this ray is exactly on the solid black line of my protractor. So since I'm constructing a 65-degree angle, I need my second ray to go through 65 degrees. So since the first ray is at 0, I'm going to be using the inside numbers and counting up to 65. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And then I need to add 5 more degrees, and that's going to be about right here. So I've marked 65 degrees with just a little tick mark right below where it is on the protractor. What this will allow me to do is when I remove the protractor, I will have that same tick mark right here. Then I'm just going to construct a straight line to create the second ray that starts at the end point of the first ray, so right here, and it's going to run through that second or that tick mark that I created at 65 degrees. So there's the first one. It's going to go right through 65 degrees. So you can see that I've just constructed an angle there. And I want to confirm that I've created an angle that's exactly 65 degrees, so I'm going to measure it. I'm going to put the vertex right in the hole of the protractor here, line up my first ray along the 0 degrees line right here. Then I'm going to count up using the inner numbers, and it looks like my angle is exactly at 65 degrees, so I've done an accurate job of creating a 65-degree angle. So we're going to use that same process here for the second angle. So I'm going to look at the end of my endpoint here, kind of line up the hole of my protractor so it goes right in the middle of that endpoint, and then the solid black line is going to line up with my first ray. And this time I'm going to be creating a 120-degree angle, and so since 0 is on the left here, I'm going to count up using the outer numbers. So I'm going to get to 120 degrees, and I'm just going to create a tick mark right at 120 degrees. This time I did it on the outer part of the protractor. Remove my protractor, and I'm going to use the straight edge of my protractor to create a ray. The end point's going to be where the other end point of the first ray was, and the line's going to go through that tick mark that I created. So I'm going to construct this ray right now. Make sure I'm doing a really accurate job. I have to hold down my protractor pretty tight to make sure I'm drawing that right. Little mistake here, but overall my line looks pretty straight. And so I've created this angle right here. There's the arc of the angle. And I'm going to measure just to double check. I'm going to put the vertex at 120 degrees. And then if I look at my line, and I count around the outside here, it looks like it falls right on the 120-degree mark, just like I had planned, so I have a 120-degree angle. So that was constructing angles when the first ray was given to us. We're going to use a similar process when we have no rays given to us. So the first angle that I'm going to be constructing is a 165-degree angle. And so the first step is just to draw our first ray. We're going to have to draw it ourselves here. So I'm going to draw a ray just using my straight edge. Make it kind of long here. And I have the end point right. So I'm actually going to, I've noticed that I think that my angle might be too big to fit on this paper, so I'm going to change the end point of my ray. So I'm going to have the end point over on this end now. And so now I'll be able to put the end point in the middle here. So it's right in the middle of that hole on the protractor, lined up this ray at 0 degrees, and now I can go all the way over to 165 degrees, which falls right here. And notice how this mark that I made is all the way out here, which kind of takes up a lot of space. So I actually don't need to trace the line all the way out there. I just need to make sure that my straight edge is right on that line, and it's also on the end point of the first ray. And I can trace just a short line here. And I've constructed a 165 degree angle, because if I would have continued this line, it would have gone through my tick mark. So I know that this is a 165 degree angle. So I'm going to check using my protractor. I have my vertex in the center on the hole on my protractor. I have the first line of my ray at 0 degrees, and then the second line goes to 165, so I have a 165 degree angle. So the last angle that I have is a 35 degree angle, and so I'm going to use the same process. First I'm going to sketch my first ray since I don't have it, use my straight edge, have the end point right here. I'm going to line up the hole of my protractor, line up the ray with the black line so it's perfectly at 0 degrees, and then I'm going to count up to 35 degrees, put a tick mark right at 35 degrees, and then I'm going to connect the end point to the tick mark, making sure I'm being nice and accurate. And I'm going to trace the line all the way through the tick mark to the end point. And when I'm done, I should have constructed a 35 degree angle, but I'm going to double check using my protractor. Put the vertex in the hole, right in the middle, line up my ray, first ray with 0 degrees, and I count up to 35, and yes, I do indeed have a 35 degree angle. So now you should be able to create any angle that you want between 0 and 180 degrees, and you should also be able to answer any of the questions in the Lesson 7 problem set. So good luck with the problem set, and thanks for watching.